We are doing this virtual lecture series for two reasons. First reason is we would like to invite all of our continuing students and our new students to come and get a feel for what Evergreen State College is like, how we learn, what kind of learning platforms we offer, like bringing the community straight into the classroom, which is what we'll be doing for the next 5 weeks. The other reason we are doing this virtual lecture series is because during COVID times, we realized that it is a right that we all have to an education. And this in our public institution was our modest way of making available education to lifelong learners. So we have planned a wonderful program today that is going to have embedded writing. It is going to have some lessons that you will be able to reflect on about the Pacific Northwest. We will be inviting guest speakers who will talk about their lived experience in the Pacific Northwest and their relationship with Evergreen State College, Tacoma, which has been a long and arduous road of building an education institution in a place where education was not thought of before. And so today as we come, we stand defiantly, and that's why I love the Sweet Honey song. We've come a long way to be together, because in many ways, we have had to find our way onto this Zoom today. So let us celebrate lifelong learning as you have joined us. I want to welcome everyone at this time. And as I do so, I want to say that I want to begin with our land acknowledgement, because that is first the way that we will pay respects to the elders and those who have come before us in this community. And we today are standing on Puyallup ground. That is the ancestral ground of the people of the Puyallup. So we want to pay homage to them today. We also honor the Squaxin, who are the people, the traditional custodians of the land where the Olympia campus is. But we in the Tacoma campus honor the Puyallup today. We pay respect to the elders, past, present, and of them all of the indigenous people of this region, because we remember that with this respect, we will build this relationship beginning today. I begin our time together today acknowledging the indigenous people of the Medicine Creek Treaty, whose land was stolen, on which Evergreen Tacoma, Olympia stands, and the Tacoma Puyallup, in which Hilltop Tacoma sits. So today, I also want to ask us to find ways in which we might be together as a learning community. And I welcome you to this ground as we start in a sacred way to begin to learn, to breathe together, to enter together a learning that will begin to change our minds, our hearts, and that of our community. And with that, I want to welcome all of you. We have 54 people. I told our team today that if we had 50 people, we were doing good. We're at 54 and growing, and so I am so excited about that. We have some special guests that I asked to come and be here to sort of hold me up, even though we're virtual. They still hold me up. And I want to give a big shout out to, first and foremost, one of the co-founders of Evergreen State College, who was always here from the beginning, Dr. Joy Hardiman. Welcome. So glad to see you today. Dr. Hardiman, hello. There she is. Unmute.
Okay. Thank you. It is such an honor to be here. I want to please just say how marvelous this opportunity is. And I thank you, Tacoma campus. And I thank you, Dr. Dean Arunga, and your staff for creating this space for us to be engaged, to be inspired, to learn. Thank you.
Thank you. What a privilege that you are with us today in our first learning opportunity of it's like our beginning of fall quarter. We also invited Dr. TaRessa Stovall. I see you here. She's the Vice President of IESS. Good morning, Dr. Stovall.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to join my Tacoma colleagues. Dr. Tatarunga, greetings to you and to all the students in Tacoma and the staff from Olympia. IESS stands for Inclusive Excellence and Student Success, and we really consider our Tacoma campus as a model of this inclusive excellence, because you really support students through, you uphold and lift up their experience, you support them to reach their learning goals and to be successful, and you really cultivate their strengths, their talents, their leadership so that they can give back to our communities. And so it's just a pleasure to be with you today and to connect our Olympia and Tacoma campuses.
Indeed. And I look forward to even a deeper relationship. So we're so happy you're here to hold us up today. And also I see Don Barron. Don Barron, who is a part of our campus with the Native Pathways. So happy to see you here. Just say a quick hello.
Hello, Marcia and Tacoma and all of the rest of the community, Evergreen, and just community members and Puyallup. Thank you for having me. This is really exciting.
Awesome. Thank you, Dawn. And also our special guest, if I can say that, Tina Kukan Miller, who is the Vice President of Indigenous, let me see, because I got to say it right. I want to be respectful. Indigenous Arts and Education and Tribal Relations of Evergreen State College. What an honor and a privilege, Tina, that you could join us. Thank you.
Good morning. It's an honor and privilege to be here. I always have that same feeling whenever I participate with Tacoma. We share the same values as I've shared with Dr. Joy in the past as we partnered together: service, hospitality, lifting people up, respect, and reciprocity. So thank you for allowing me to be here today.
Oh my goodness. And if we can just think about those values and how we can come together as communities, how far we can go. What beautiful words. And Tina, would you mind saying a word about the land acknowledgement that I did today and why this is so important to do?
Yes, thank you very much. I will introduce myself in my language. Greetings, my relatives. Idana Kwadokwe Indigenous Kaz, Wabajeshi and Dodem, Waswaganing and Donjaba. It's beautiful to be with you here today. I'm Tina Kukan Miller, and I'm a citizen of the Lac du Flambeau Band of Lake Superior Ojibwe Nation. Have made Washington my home for going on 30 years, which is quite a long time. But the people of the Northwest are incredibly hospitable people, and they're very welcoming, and I appreciate that. So thank you for the opportunity to share a few words about why land acknowledgements are important and why allyship is critical, especially at this time. So thank you for allowing me the honor of being in this space with you today, and in particular for the opportunity to introduce such a well-respected tribal leader as Ramona Bennett of the Puyallup Tribal Nation. So before there was an Evergreen Tacoma or the Hilltop neighborhood, before there was the city of Tacoma or the state of Washington or even the United States of America, the ancestors of the Puyallup Tribal Nation were here. They fished, they harvested, they gathered, they raised their families. And of course, they're still here today, and they're still doing all of those things and so much more.
Yes.
So when we think about acknowledging the land, it's important to acknowledge the people who have always been here, to consider their historic struggles, such as the fish wars of the 1970s, and also their successes, such as the Chief Leshai Tribal School. I'm so glad that Evergreen Tacoma knows better than to invite a Native person in to do the now almost obligatory land acknowledgement and then thank them as they leave after a few minutes. Thank you for inviting us into your educational space and learning community today. Thank you for paying the respect of beginning your next academic year with the wise words and reflections of a highly regarded leader, such as Ramona Bennett. Because it is timely and appropriate for so many reasons to have her at Evergreen Tacoma's first Lyceum Speaker of the Year. Right now, there's a lot of excitement mixed with real concern about the national election. Many of us are overjoyed to see a strong woman of color on the ticket for Vice President of the United States. As Senator Kamala Harris acknowledges, as do many women leaders of color, we would not be celebrating this achievement today if it were not for the generations of strong, committed, and determined women of color who fought against racism and sexism over the years, the decades, and even the centuries. Ramona Bennett is one of these women. She was elected to the Puyallup Tribal Council in 1968 and served as the nation's first tribal chairwoman from 1971 to 1978. This was at a time when women leaders, such as herself and my mentor, Menominee Tribal Chairwoman Ada Deer, were not allowed to participate as equals among the tribal chairmen in national tribal leader conventions in the 1970s. As tribal chairwoman Ramona Bennett sued the state of Washington on behalf of her nation to uphold their sovereign immunity as they exercised their treaty-protected right to harvest fish. The case made its way to the US Supreme Court and was a landmark case for all tribal nations in the country, where it was affirmed that the state courts did not exercise jurisdiction over a recognized Indian tribe when it came to their treaty rights. In addition to her fishing rights advocacy, she participated in the takeover of the Bureau of Indian Affairs building in Washington, D.C. in 1972. More locally, she helped take over Tacoma's Cushman Hospital in 1976, ultimately returning ownership of the hospital to the Puyallup tribe for use as a medical and social welfare center. She cares deeply about children who are the pride of our nations, and she cares about families. Her advocacy helped lead to the establishment of the National Indian Child Welfare Act. She also co-founded Rainbow Youth and Family Services, which is a Tacoma-based nonprofit. Not many people could bear the title of a living legend, but it is not an overstatement to say that we are honored to have one here in our midst today. And so we welcome our respected elder, activist, and longtime tribal leader, Ramona Bennett.
Hi, am I with you?
You are with us. Thank you.
Okay, then we should get rid of this because it's reverbing. My granddaughter just set up her laptop 1 second ago, so now here we are. The phone Clyde's phone can retire. I'm so excited for our new students, and I think most of you know that Clyde and I are both GUI ducks. We were some of the very first students down in Olympia, and now I had what I was going to tell you all figured out, but then I read what you want me to talk about, and it's something entirely different. So I'm going to start with what you wanted me to talk about. You talked about the Olympia campus, and you talked about the Tacoma campus. And pretty much so, if you're in America, you're on stolen land. So you really don't have to say which tribal group was there, because we do believe Creator designated the Turtle Continent for the native people. And we had no borders, and that's South America to the top of Alaska. And so now I've put that to rest. And no, we didn't come across the Bering Strait. I promise you. Creator just put us right here, because if Creator can do one miracle, Creator can do many miracles. And that's what we've been taught and told. And we were put here to protect the turtle continent. And that's why in all of the environmental groups, no matter where you are, you'll always find natives still making those attempts. Now, at treaty time, the Puyallups were put on this river system to protect our brothers and sisters, the nations of salmon. When the United States did treaties, they assigned us the north end of Tacoma, and that included Point Defiance and where our campus is. And then they realized that was really valuable land, and so they moved us over to the east side of Tacoma, and Point Defiance and Browns Point and Fife and the east side of Tacoma. That was our new reservation, and it was a 23,000 acre reservation. But when they surveyed it, they lost 5,000 acres right from the get. They said they marked it with a tree, and then somebody cut the tree down, and so they lost the 5,000 acres. And so we have an 18,000 acre reservation, and they moved us all onto that reservation. And my family lived at Willacott, which is called McNeil's Island now. And they relocated all of us and eventually did allotments. That was 40, 80, and however many acres based on the family size. And I think kind of based on who was willing to kiss up to the Department of Interior. And so we got pushed over onto the new reservation, and there was a congressman named Cushman, and Cushman, you could come and sit by me if you want to. My granddaughter is now sitting on my walker. So cute. No, she's a grown woman. But so now we have allotments, and it's use them or lose them. And see, we're longhouse people. We lived in longhouses, all of the generations together. And the older people took care of the little people, and the middle people did the heavy lifting. They did the construction, the hunting, most of the fishing. Now the elder people know the medicines, know the weaving, know the food, curing, preparation, storage. And so everybody is needed now. There's no old folks' homes, there's no orphanages. The kids have energy. They can run, they can lift, they can do a lot. And so the older people teach the kids and work with the children. And everybody has everything. So what do you give people who have everything? You know, you could give them a song. And the Puyallups, when Jacques Cousteau went all over the world looking for the biggest octopus, they were right here. The Puyallup people harvested the devilfish, smoked them in our smokehouses, and they were used for gifting, trading, and we traveled. Our language is the same language as the Salish Kootenai in Montana, and so even the people in Montana knew the Puyallup people because we were the devilfish people. We would come and we would be like the newspaper. We knew everything that was going on because we were very friendly, very outgoing, very well informed, and we were here. The water was the highway system, and so people on canoes would come from all over. They would visit with us. We would tell them what was going on. And we had a trade language, and that was Chinook Wawa. It was a language that was kind of a composite of all of the Indian languages, you know, some common words. And so us Puyallups were well off. You know, we were known as the generous people. Well, we got put on this reservation, and that broke up our longhouse tradition of all of the generations all getting to live together and all taking care of each other. That put us, use it or lose it, little cabins on these separate allotments. And the racism was beyond belief. Cushman, Congressman, remember him? Congressman Cushman got a congressional act that allowed us to sell our property. And what happened is the minute that law was enacted, the slaughter began because we had valuable real estate and we were minority people by then. At treaty time, we were 100% of the population, 99 or 98% of the population. But by the time the Cushman Act happened, the non-natives had flooded in and they were grabbing everything in sight. And so our family resisted. I'm from a warrior family. We're from a warrior family. We did not kiss up to the government, and our family paid a very dear price. Grandaunts murdered and children taken. And so we just recently discovered, and some of our students probably know this, there's a statue of Cushman standing in the Point Defiance Park. Expect to hear further from me on that topic later, because this is all bad. We're watching all of these Confederate statues fall, much like Stalin fell in Russia. Our television, it must be an hour because it just ended. Pause. So that's what happened to our reservation. Almost all of the land was, reservation means reserved forever. And under federal law, it was supposed to be reserved forever. And as you know, the land is still here, the titles have been taken. And when I was elected a consul in 1968, the tribe had just lost three. This is my granddaughter, Amber, the one that just showed up with the laptop. Anyway, we had lost 3 state court cases, and in 1968, we did not exist. We were off the map. They were done with us. They had abolished us. They had terminated us. They had hoped they had killed all of us. And so now I'm elected to the tribal council because our tribe just won't take no for an answer. Continued meeting, continued. All we had to take care of was a cemetery. And guess what? We didn't even own the cemetery. We didn't even own our ancestors' bones. A long, long time ago, Congress put all of the tribes in a hat and let the denominations come and take their share of the Indian tribes. And the Presbyterians got Puyallup. And so the cemetery was part of a little land grant that Congress and the Bureau gave to the Presbyterians to civilize us. And so, but we still kept up the cemetery. And in 1976, I took pictures of us resisting the game and fisheries agents and the police at Cushman. All of the pictures of us being gassed and fighting back and holding guns, and sent it to the National Presbyterians and told them they had defaulted on their contract. They had failed to civilize us. And they gave us the title back to our cemetery. Well, they gave us a title that we had never had before because the Bureau had the property and conveyed it to the Presbyterians. And so in 1968, we had no recognized rights, absolutely none. Our fishing wasn't recognized. We weren't recognized as a tribe. Slade Gordon and Dan Evans actually promoted themselves in their offices on we'll take care of the Indian problem platform. And it got them votes. There was that much hate. And so we had no dollars, we had no land, we had absolutely no services, no health care, no educational support, no jobs, nothing but a whole lot of racism. and there really were no dogs or Indians allowed signs still up in businesses. And, you know, I look white. My mother was a very dark Indian. And, I say, when we traveled, I could go into the restaurant. I could go into the gas station, lavatory, with my dad because he was a white man, or I could pee in the bushes with my mother. And I always chose to pee in the bushes with my mother because I, I guess you don't want to go in the bushes alone or something. But, this has been a really hard pull for Indians. It's been a struggle from beginning to end. And our tribe is an absolute miracle. Other tribes under similar circumstances have absolutely no respect. They might have a cultural center, but they really can't. They have no rights. They can't get any real recognition or services. And what we did here was truly desperate. We did have an armed fishing camp. On every river there was a family of Indians, and on every river the Indians fought back for 100 years. The Indians resisted being pushed off the rivers and continued harvesting. But you couldn't see it because it was off in the woods. It was at night. And so the same things that happened to us happened to everybody, but we're here in a densely populated area, and we had learned how to use the media. And so when 500 armed cops came down on us, the press was there and the people saw what was happening to Indian people. And there was an outcry. There was a backlash on law enforcement. They had beat and dragged and slashed nets and dropped outboard motors in the salt water. They had confiscated fishermen, fisherwomen. They had confiscated the salmon. They had impounded vehicles. They had been beating Indians bloody and charging them with theft when there was that treaty right to harvest. And so right here in Tacoma, we did this. We had an armed camp. We had guns. We resisted, and they did a mass arrest, but they beat us in front of cameras and in front of reporters, and it went to court. And that's what U.S. versus Washington was all about, the Bolt decision. And if you students want to know more about it, it's BOLDT, and the BOLDT 40, the number's 40. If you Google that, there was a whole day of people talking about the fishing rights and how that you might have to throw that out the window. I'm serious. It's the alarm for our fireworks stand. We're year round. I guess I'll just advertise. But anyway, if you look, Hank Adams, Billy Frank, Steve Robinson, myself, the lawyers, the Bolt family, all of those people were interviewed, and there were a couple of thousand what I call aristocracy Indians, the elected officials, the leaders. Fawn Sharp, do any of you know who Fawn Sharp is? She's the president of NCAI, and I got to nominate her, but she's the president down Quinault, and she just says there is a difference between leaders and politicians, and she is so right about that. So anyway, when we were elected on consul, there was absolutely nothing. And now I'm gonna come to the part that I wanted to talk about. So I was coming out of Seattle, and Pearl Warren who directed the Seattle Indian Center, a little teeny macaw woman. She trained me to write letters to get help for the Indian Center, and she taught me how to. I told her I can't talk in public. I can't talk to people. And she said, when you have something to say, you'll be able to speak. I think that's I want all of you students to know that's true. If you have trouble talking in class, it's not going to impede you later. When you have something you need to do, you will be able to talk. And so she taught me how to do all of that. And so when I got elected here, I had been going out representing the Indian Center, and at that time there was something called the Southern Peace Conference. There was a Vietnam War. There were anti-war rallies. And I had gotten to be part of a whole bunch of coalitions. Everybody was in motion. That was a time of great political and social change. And so I was able to bring what I learned in Seattle here to Tacoma, and that was Fort Lawton. We had been climbing fences and climbing bluffs and talking until our lips almost fell off, and organizing the community and presenting a plan, because Duwamish has no land, and we wanted to get a land base for them. I mean, anytime federal land is surplus under law, it's supposed to revert to the Indians. And here it was Fort Lawton, and they surplused it, and they never ever returned it to Duwamish. And all we got was a park out of it. And there were so many things we wanted to do. We wanted to do healthcare and treatment and jobs and daycares and all kinds of things. And those things happened, but they didn't get to happen at Fort Lauderdale, just the culture program and the daycare. So now I'm in Tacoma, and in Seattle, we worked with Urban League. They'd stand with us, we'd stand with them. And especially with job things like Larry Gossett was active even then trying to get the unions to open up. And, you know, we walked with them and stood with them and got arrested. And so now here I'm elected to this council in Tacoma. So I go to Urban League, and Tom Dixon is there, a very young Tom Dixon. This is 50 years ago, 52 now. I go to Urban League and I say, I just got elected to the Puyallup Tribal Council, and I'm going to establish our tribe. And see, it had never had an office. Our tribe had never had an office. The Bureau was here. They sold all of our allotments. Remember the allotments in Cushman? They sold our allotments. They folded up their carpet bag. They left. We had sold property to Indian Health, so we would have jobs, wonderful medical care. That's what we were promised. Well, eventually they turned it into a TB sanatorium and then closed it, and they left. And they left our property in the hands of the state, who used it as Cascadia, a terrible jail for children. That was what had happened with that. And so our tribe had never ever been established, and so now I'm up at Urban League. I said, we don't have a desk, we don't have a typewriter, we don't have a phone, we don't have a copy machine. Our tribe has a broken filing cabinet, and I've got a little manual portable typewriter that I carry with me, but we're just not set up. And so Tom Dixon says, there's your desk, there's your phone, there's your typewriter, there's your copy machine, and there's your secretary. I got a secretary. He set us up, and so that's where I operated from. Now, it wasn't until, this is, the kids would say, this is cray cray. 50 years later, there was the 50-year birthday party for Urban League, and I got to go to it. I did not know. See, Urban League had been in Seattle for 15 or 20 years. I had no idea that the day I walked into Urban League, they had just opened their door. They had just opened their door. They were brand new, established to assist primarily minority people struggling for economic and social assistance, or Anyway, I did not know that Urban Lake was brand new, and I was the first taught customer. And so when I when I walked in, the little core staff of 3 or 4 people just went, "What? It's a tribe? How did that happen?" Because no one had even heard of Puyallup before then. And so, anyway, that was my home base. And years went by. Um, we did the armed eviction of the state off our hospital property, and we secured that property, and we did an old riverbed case, and we were able to get some property out in the port. And so you guys have watched our little struggle as we got back up. Well, at some point, probably 1973, we had gotten Comprehensive Employment Training Act dollars. And it was for training. And so I figured out that I could use building materials as training supplies and journeyman construction people as teachers and unemployed Indians as trainees. And I built 2 little buildings. They were cute. I know. I was so excited too. And after CETA was all over, I really had feds come and tell me that we were the only ones anywhere ever that really built anything permanent. And the one little building is still there. It was an elders building. And the other building was tribal offices, and we had a meeting room, and we had a courtroom. We had a court. Anyway, these 2 really beautiful Black women, Joy Hardiman and Maxine Mims, came to me, and they said, we want to do a Tacoma campus for Evergreen State College, and we got no space. And I said, I have a courtroom and I have a meeting room. The Puyallup tribe can host. And so that's where the very, very first Evergreen State College classes took place up there. It's cemetery now, but up there at the top, that's the birthplace of our Tacoma campus. And Clyde and I both are Evergreen graduates. Now, after all of the things that happened, now mind you, when we evicted the state out of the Cascadia, it was Slade Gordon and Dan Evans that were in power. And Dan Evans had promised me if I could raise $1.6 million to reimburse the state for the money that they had put in to that facility, that they could revert the title back to the tribe. And And so I lobbied. I did a line item. My mom, when I was a kid, used to say, "Oh, that would take an act of Congress." and, and of course, that meant impossible. But I did a line item and I lobbied it. Now, Tina really loves Ada Deer, so I'm going to tell an Ada Deer story. You know, as Indians, you know, it's really hard to get appointments with these congressmen. And so what I would do is I would have everything written up, and I would wait outside of Regula or Duncan or any of them that were hard to get hold of office. And when they'd ring the bell to go to section, they would come out and they would walk through the tunnels under Washington, D.C. to their meeting rooms. And so I'd be waiting there. Sometimes somebody would be with me, but a lot of times alone. And when they'd come out, I would just run with them and I'd be telling them all about whatever it was that we were working on getting done. And I give them the paperwork, and they didn't mind the company, and it isn't like I broke up their day or anything. And I seen this tall woman that would be doing the same thing I was doing, but we never talked. But that was Ada Deer. And so I'd be chasing my congressman and she'd be chasing some other congressman. But we never were waiting for the same congressman at the same time. So now, years later, I'm at a meeting. It's called Ahoya. It's a women's meeting. And these Indian girls have a 5K run planned. They got their headbands, they got their wristbands, they got their very cool tennis shoes and shorts, and they're athletes. And Ada and I happened to be standing together, and they came running up to us and said, you know, the 5K is about to start. Are you gonna run with us? And I said, you know, Ada and I used to do the same thing. We'd wait down in the basement of the congressional or Senate buildings and wait for the bell to ring, and then we'd run with the politicians. I said, if there was a Greyhound track, and you stuck a broomstick up a congressman's ass and ran him around the track, Ada and I in our high-heeled shoes could beat the whole bunch of you.
My goodness, I think we have to stop right there on that punchline, Miss Ramona, because you have said more than a notion. Leah, we're going to have to pause for a moment for some question and answers. Leah?
Hello.
Oh,
hi, I'm Leah. Hi.
I can see. Remember, the tribe bought me.
Oh, we may have lost Leah. Let's see. She might have frozen on us. What we want to do at this time is take a moment to ask some questions of Miss Ramona. You can see this is a rich, deep life. We just want to honor you for that. But for a few minutes, if people have questions, you can unmute and ask your question.
Oh, I see Joy.
Ramona?
Hi.
Ramona? Hello, how are you?
I'm good.
Oh, you look so beautiful.
Oh,
I have a question, please. In your beautiful, and thank you, you're sharing. You gave us an image of struggle, but you gave us an image of triumph over struggle. You gave us an image of long distance running. What would you say to the young people today as they're dealing with the with what is going to be a very protracted study to get any kind of justice around police relationships, etc. What and a lot of them are saying that they feel tired. What do you have to say to them?
I'm so proud of them. I'm proud of them because they're awake. They're there and they're awake, and I, you know, Evergreen is an amazing opportunity, and you know, I did my undergraduate degree as a uncontracted studies, and I was one of the very first Evergreen graduates to take that pass-fail degree to a graduate program, and they didn't know what to do with me. It was the University of Puget Sound education, and I took the Miller analogy, and it's 60 questions. You only need to answer 15 right to pass it.
Mm-hmm.
And I got all 60. And it was Greek mythology. What? I don't know how that happened. But I did used to read Greek mythology because I couldn't find any Indian legends at that time. But I mean, that was just a fluke. I probably couldn't have done it the day before or the day after. But you know, Evergreen now is tried and true. But at that time, you know, the whole concept hadn't even been tested. But I did earn my master's from the University of Puget Sound. I'm, you know, I just love your students, and you know, like I said, in 68 to 72 was a time of great transition and change. You know, the Southern Christian Peace Conference and the Vietnam War and all of the things that were in flex, and it's that way again. This is another time of great change, and what you know, what I say is it's people find themselves saying, well, somebody should do something about that. And I remind them, you know, y'all are somebody. We all are somebody. And things, you know, there's all these little sayings, and the one I really liked is good leaders are hard to find, so I'm following myself. A lot of times, you know, when you're working on something that's important to you, you will be working alone. You will be standing alone. And, you know, in Indian country, we don't really have any leaders because there aren't any followers. People will pick up an idea and move with it, and there'll be a number of people all moving in the same direction. Well, some can write, some can talk, some can sew, some can cook, some can drive, some can do, you know, all of the different things that go into a movement. But the people that do the talking are not necessarily the leaders or the most important workers. They're just the people who are able to talk. And a lot of times that's been me, but without, you know, everybody else lifting their piece of the sky, and nothing would actually happen. So, you know, Joy, I think a lot has to do with the company people keep. And I don't think you can go wrong when you're working with your classmates, your friends that you meet at school. I think those relationships are lifetime.
The company that we keep, the company that we keep. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we should move to our question and answer. I mean, I'm sorry, our give back, because we have lost Leah. Unless Leah's with us, let us take a moment to do a give back, because Miss Ramona, our community elder, has poured out a good, we won't say 60 years of her life, because we don't want to give out age, but we know a full life has gone into shaping where we live today. I mean, this is a legend here. And now that she has shared with us these brief stories, maybe what we can do in our give back is to sort of tell her what we heard, maybe something that moved us, that we'd like to share with her so we can replenish her energy. And that is the purpose of Give Back. You can also write it in the chat, and we'll make sure that Miss Ramona sees your comments. But if there's anyone who would like to begin, maybe I could ask one of our special guests. How about you, Dr. Saliba?
Thank you so much for that opportunity. Respected leader, Ramona Bennett, it was such an amazing inspiration to hear your story. You are a true woman warrior, and you model for us what it means to live in struggle, to affirm connection to land, culture, place, a commitment to the preservation of the beauty of this earth. And I really took away from you just what it means to have land stolen, to have your land base erased, and the continuous and persistent fight that you and your community has led, and the racism you've had to struggle against, but also the strength of the coalitions that were built through your leadership and others' leadership. And when you mentioned the history, I thought so often our students come to us and they say, why haven't I learned this history? They feel kind of cheated, or that some truth was stolen from them. Down here in Olympia, we often study the indigenous history through the story of Billy Frank Jr. and the Nisqually tribe, but it was very refreshing to hear your Puyallup story. And I was reminded, as you mentioned, through the Cushman story, that we have our own memorials that we need to confront. We have to get those, to deal with those monuments, because I was just down here on the peninsula. A lot of young people and our students go out to Lake Cushman, and I hadn't heard that story or made the connection. We go out there to get refreshed, but this is named after someone who was instrumental in the theft of land and in the destruction of indigenous communities. So I took so much inspiration from you, and I also wanted to just thank you for being the host of the first Tacoma program too. That is such an inspiring story. And the last thing I would just like to thank you for is really what you said about us being leaders. Who is this somebody who's going to step forward? And that's us. And it reminded me of a quote by the late African-American feminist June Jordan, who says, "We are the ones we've been waiting for." And so I appreciate your inspiration and just your lifelong struggle and commitment. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Saliba. Leah, what do you think? Who shall we call on?
Looks like Leander has their hand raised.
Okay.
Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leander Yazi, and I work at Green River College over in Auburn. Yet I live here in Tacoma, and I just wanted to say thank you to Ramona Bennett for being for sharing her story. The story was very informative, and being a visiting I guess a visiting a Native person from Arizona. I learned a few things, and I like to thank you for that. And then just to kind of take a step back, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Leander Yazi. I'm from the Navajo tribe. I'm Bitter Water, and water flows together, people. Turichi do tohe glini bashishchin kutala dinan shle. So I just wanted to say thank you again for this conversation, and thank you to Evergreen and the rest of the partnering groups who got this together. This is some good stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I see Dawn Theron has her hand up.
Oh, we got Leah back again.
Hi, Ramona. Thank you so much. I just want to say that you bring a sense of authenticity and humor that is always so positive and awesome, and students and community members really get into the stories and then the importance of the stories that you're telling. So my hands are raised. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Lily Kinnaman.
Thanks. Oh gosh, I feel like your story was a gift basket. I think that storytelling is completely absent from most of our education, and that learning really goes deep when we get it from stories of experience. And I just felt the invaluable experience that you shared is cellular for me. Like, it just goes in, and it feels like it is the way to connect to others when we hear things that are delivered outside of textbook.
Yes.
And I just want to thank you so much for being a messenger of real life that we can learn from and connect to others through. So thank you so much.
Okay, I see Natasha, and then following Natasha, we have Alan Thompson. Natasha, go ahead.
Hey, thank you. I've lived in Tacoma my whole life. I was born here. I love this city. And I think that what you brought today made me feel a sense of responsibility for all of the hard work that you guys have put in to remind us that we have to continue our allyship to support the tribes and make sure that we're upholding all of the hard work that you guys have put in. Because as Lily just mentioned, we don't read about this stuff in the storybooks. And so to hear it from the source was an amazing experience. And to also hear about the early allyship that happened between you and Dr. Joy Hardiman and Dr. Mims, it just reminds us, you know, I've always, in a way, I've been hesitant, like, well, you know, the Native people have had all of the stuff that's happened between them and outsiders. And so it's like, and we as outsiders, do we have a right to step into your space and to ask of you, you know, what do you need from us? But at the same time, that's how we get things done. So I'm so excited for the sense of responsibility that you've instilled in us today. So thank you again for this.
But it was back and forth. It was back and forth. It was like a pay it forward. But you just said something that reminded me of something. When my son Eric was in the 7th grade, we lived in Rainier, Washington. And I seen him sitting at the table doing some homework. And so I went and sat with him. And the question he was answering, it said, what did the Indians do as the settlers moved west? And the answer was they moved further west. And I said, well, that's not the answer. And I just started flipping out. I said there was a genocide. There was a slaughter. How, that's not the answer. And I went on a little rant. And Eric was Amber's daddy. So I'm telling her this story too. He says, Mom, I'm just trying to pass the 7th grade. He said, I'm not trying to fix the world. I'm just trying to pass the 7th grade. So I took his textbook and, well, Rainier's not that far from Olympia. I went down to the Office of Public Instruction and had a full-blown tantrum waving their damn lying book around. And I jammed up their, that's before they locked the state offices. And I swear to God, I am the reason the state offices are all locked. The DSHS and the State Board of Public Instruction. So anyway, I had a fit and everybody came to listen to my fit, and then they all went back to their offices and I left feeling so much better. I told them, you know, your book says there used to be Indians and this is what they used to eat and this is where they used to live and, you know, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing that happened is there's a new 9th grade Washington State history book, and it has a chapter entitled Ramona Bennett. Well, that wasn't the point. The point was, at that time, there were 27 federally recognized tribes, and they had all of their economies and their social order and housing programs, and they had businesses, they had resorts, they had a lot of things that really needed to be talked about. And so there was a chapter called Ramona Bennett, and remember Amber out in Gig Harbor, little Eric said, Grandma, you're a whole chapter in my 9th grade Washington State history.
I know, we need to get a copy of that.
They're so stupid. They
Awesome.
didn't get the point at all. They just went right over.
And that's a very important story we should not miss out on, because we are all homeschooling children now and they have their goals to reach, and yet we have some lessons to teach. And where do the two come together? This is so insightful. But at this time, we're going to now finalize this thank you with our own guest. Tina, if you don't mind closing us out on this, because we can do it. We need to have you back, Miss Ramona. But for now, we have a lot more we're going to continue with. Tina, please.
Thank you, Miigwech. This has been such an amazing space to be in today with everyone. Again, you know, you just feel uplifted anytime you engage with Evergreen Tacoma. So what a blessing it was to hear that part of that origin story from Ramona Bennett and talking about that allyship and how together we really make important things happen.
Yes.
And thank you for reminding us that the space that we're in on a national level, we've been here before.
Yes.
And, you know, we can work through these things and we can do good, important things in this world. That we can't let it get us down. Like, we might need to pause and refresh and look around and see who we can move together. So thank you also for that leadership model where it's not one person leading, but it's the collective, and honoring the strengths that everyone brings. And as you stated, because everyone is somebody and everyone has a different gift.
See, we could have done this entire hour and a half on just the Tacoma Police and the Tacoma Police Union and how it's been and how it was in the 60s and how it is today. Just that police union, when my grandson was murdered, it was on a weekend. That police union is so powerful that the homicide detectives are off on weekends. By the time they came back on Monday morning, that area had been cleaned and re-rented. I mean, we could have done a whole segment just on that, and maybe next time that is what we'll talk about.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
we have a lot of conversations to have with you, and I think it's just a beautiful time that we have been able to open with this Native American conversation, because we are on Native ground, and it is not who the natives once were. We're talking about who people are today. So thank you for that relevance. I feel so honored that you have spent this time with us. And as we shift gears, we want to just really let that sit with us. We are going to be so blessed right now. We're going to shift gears with a writer, one of our own alumni. We are calling her our author in residence. TaRessa Stovall is not new to Seattle. She was born and raised in Seattle, but was a student of Evergreen State College, Olympia. Now, I want to point out, because Miss Ramona talked about being a gooey duck. See, the gooey ducks are in Olympia. In Tacoma, we have Sankofa. And Sankofa is an ancient bird, and we'll tell you more about that later. Well, it turns out TaRessa too is a gooey duck, but in her heart, she is a Sankofa. And I want to welcome you back to Evergreen State College after so many years. I think your class of 1980, TaRessa. Welcome, and thank you for your teaching. Please let us give her 20 minutes of her enjoyable teaching of writing today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tate Arunga. How are you?
Doing well. Isn't this awesome?
This is awesome. This is a real homecoming for me, because I'm not sure you know this, but I am a Sankofa. I went to Evergreen Olympia, but I am definitely a graduate of the Tacoma group and a disciple of Doctors Hardiman and Mims in every possible way. They shaped me and all of the work that I do and have done throughout my life, without any question. So yes, I am definitely an alum of the Tacoma group, the Caballeros Club, the whole deal. So I'm a Seattle native from the pre-gentrified Central area, and I'm a lifelong communications expert, writer. I've just written a memoir about growing up in Seattle, the central area, mixed race, etc. I'm very deeply honored for this homecoming, and also deeply nurtured and lifted by Ramona Bennett, who I had never met before, but we obviously have many parallels in life, including working with Tom Dixon, the Urban League, Larry Gossett, one of my very early mentors, and the only reason I ever went to college at all was Larry Gossett, let us be clear. That whole story. So there's a whole lot of possibilities here, and a whole lot of homecoming and nurturing. So I want to start. So I'm a writer, an author, and we're going to talk about, I'm going to share some writing tips for finding your voice, because no matter who you are, your voice is your superpower. And I want to share professional writer tips from myself and other professional writers and authors for how we work to do that, because we have to work at it too. Doesn't come fast, doesn't come easily or naturally to all of us. There's a lot of work that's involved. So let's get started. Oh, and I'm coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia, and the specific land I am on was stolen from the Creek people. So finding your voice. Your voice is rare because it is specific. It is unique. It is your truth. It is your story. It is raw. It is authentic. It represents your truths, and it is empowering. One of the things we all have to do to find our voice is to get the other voices out of our head. That's teachers, parents, critics, editors. If you're an author, Amazon reviews, right? All of those things. When you go to find your voice, you have to find a way to move past them. Here are some tips from some pros. And the pros, I am excited to say, include my two 20-something millennial children, my son and my daughter, who are professional and published writers as well. So I'll let you know when we get to their tips. So the first thing that could work is silence, hush. Get all stimuli out. You can meditate. There's no one form. There aren't any rules that go with these. These are just tips for you to play with. Another one is to move. For me, dancing works, stretching, even just shimmying sometimes, with or without music, with or without sound. Just, try different things and see what works for you. But sometimes getting your blood circulating, your energy going, that can help. Draw, sketch, doodle, color, dabble. Doesn't have to be good or perfect. Nobody is going to see it. Anything that tickles your senses and gets your inner voice going. This is from my daughter, who's a literary agent and an author. Read. Words in equal words out, period. All writers will tell you the first thing you have to do in order to write is to read. And I know many of you Evergreen students are preparing for an assignment where you have to write an autobiographical paper. So I'm kind of directing what I'm sharing to that assignment. But it can be applied to anything. Talk. If you're more of a talker than a writer, then talk to yourself or somebody else, record it on a device, play it back. By the way, most of us hate the way our voices sound on recording, so try to get over that and just find your rhythm, find your cadence, find your groove, okay? This is from my son, also a journalist, a published author, and a filmmaker. Think. Learn to bring the voice that's inside your head out and get it on the page or the screen or whatever you're using. And there's a lot of wisdom there. The voice you talk to yourself in, that's the voice you want to cultivate and nurture and bring out into the world to share with the world. And also jam. Okay, I'm a big fan of music. Listen to it, play it, sing it. And all of us have a coming of age soundtrack for any point in our lives, including the present. Tune into that if you're writing memoir or autobiography, and you'd be amazed at what it can stimulate. Speaking of music, so I want to dive into that really deeply, and we're going to enjoy one of my favorite autobiographical songs in a minute, one that is iconic, the Magic of Memoir music. So music, of course, is used in many, many ways to trigger memory. So we writers use it very often, whether it's for ourselves or a character or a setting. But here's what music does, and you all know this. It's an express route back in time. Sometimes you just have to hear the first two notes of a song. You might not even remember all the lyrics perfectly, but your emotional, psychological, subconscious muscle memory is like already rocking with it. Things are flooding back into your memory. Your senses are stimulated. They're tickled. They're alive. It helps you tune into your own rhythm and flow, brings details rushing back, and you can just immerse yourself in those sounds and sometimes transport yourself back to a time and place within seconds. So music is very powerful for that. It's also used in working in memory care, as some of you might know, in folks who have memory issues such as dementia or Alzheimer's. Research has shown again and again that when they listen to music from their past, they're right there. All the memories are there. All the memories are clear and strong. So music is very powerful. We're going to play with that a little bit today. So musical memoirs. Think of some songs that reveal the artist's life, that are favorites of yours, you know, and what do the songs do? They usually include some very specific details that even if they're not from your community, your culture, your tribe, you can relate to them because it's so specific. And that's, by the way, something I learned from Dr. Hardiman in my youth, was the more specific you are, the more universal you will be. I've applied that to everything I've done every day ever since Ashe Dr. Hardiman. Other thing that music can do is paint a picture, again, with those details, right? Again, transporting you instantly, beaming you up to another place in time, conveys a distinct flavor. Again, even if you've never tasted that flavor, and the song we're going to play with today will show you that, but you can still taste it in your senses, even if you don't know it directly. It evokes emotion. So these, again, your emotions are triggered, and you can know what the singer or the songwriter was going through at the time. And then you have rhythm, melody, harmony, beat, a whole mood, as the kids say, a whole mood. So we're going to play with one of my very favorite memoir songs from Ms. Lauryn Hill, and we do refer to it as Ms. Lauryn Hill because she requires that. This is an iconic album. I don't know how many of you are familiar with it. I'm thinking some of you might be. Came out summer of 22 years ago, almost next week, the summer of '98. So the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is iconic, and I just wanted to share some fun tips real quick about it. It blends various musical genres, as you can see. It brought hip hop further into the mainstream. It's considered one of the few near perfect albums in any genre. Ms. Lauryn Hill became the first hip hop artist in 1999 to win a Grammy for Album of the Year, and the first woman to take home 5 Grammy Awards in a night. It inspired a 2018 book by leading hip-hop feminist scholar Joan Morgan, paying tribute to how it was still iconic and relevant after 20 years. So those are just some of the few. There's a song in there that we're going to, I want you to listen to. You're going to see the lyrics, and the lyrics are also available for you to download for the prompt fun assignment we're going to do. The song is titled Every Ghetto, Every City, and it's a recollection of her youth growing up in, to be specific, northern New Jersey. Thank you. So I noticed some of you, are familiar with it, vibing with it. Yes, it's so funny because it's so specific. When it came out, I was raising my children in southern New Jersey. We soon after that moved to northern New Jersey, and we made a point of when we would drive around, we would call out when we recognized the places, some of the places that she referenced. And oh, there's Irvington. Oh, there's Hillside, whatever. And of course, the whole Roots Tonic with the dreads, etc. So the specificity is what we're talking about. So here's what I want you to play with. I believe in taking a playful attitude toward writing and finding your voice. Some prompts. So find your song. You can use this one. Again, the lyrics are available for download. You can find it anywhere. Or another one that resonates for you. Listen to the song. Notice and document the feelings, sensations, and memories that create. Document. Be prepared to document. Whether you're recording, writing, drawing, find a way to capture them as they spill out. Pay attention to the memories, honor them, and rewrite the lyrics to reflect something about your life. Now, this isn't going to be, doesn't have to be perfect. Doesn't have to rhyme if it's from a song that rhymes. Just play with it. Again, it's your tool. Just helps a way to help you connect with your voice. And a little caveat, which is sometimes our past include pain, struggle, trauma. And if so, proactively set up your self-care and support mechanisms, people, things you do, take a bath, dance, meditate, massage your feet, whatever, talk to somebody, friend, family, therapist, whatever your self-care support things are, activate them ahead of time. So with being prepared to capture what comes up, and if necessary, self-care and support mechanisms, I want you to, as the elders say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So have those things set up ahead of time, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Play, experiment, and remember the mantra, it's hot. Don't forget what you got looking back. Okay, remind yourself of the beauty and the power and the magic and the necessity of your voice, of your version of your story, all of it, the ups, the downs, the pains, the pleasures, the struggles, the triumphs, everything that makes you who you are, that makes you a story, right? And that, again, that's your superpower. Use it, and as Ramona Bennett so beautifully illustrated today, use it for good. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, TaRessa Stovall, thank you. What a lively presentation. Let's all just give her some love for that. You can put your note in the chat. Thank you, thank you, thank you. TaRessa will be with us every week for the next 5 weeks, and we want you to use her. We want everyone to be more creative writers and to go deep in, as Ramona Bennett did, to go deep into your history to see what were those moments of victory. So thank you so much for that beautiful presentation. We're running a little bit late now, so I'm gonna give you, and my phone is ringing, so that must be Kwabe calling me, because we are gonna hear from Kwabe now, one of our prized alumni. And you know, everyone is always asking, what do you do with these degrees you have? As you have seen Ramona Bennett, you have seen TaRessa Stovall, now you're about to meet Kwabe, who is a more recent graduate, and let's hear about what he has done with his degree, his lived experience. Kwabe, welcome back.
What's going on, Doctor? I want to thank you first and foremost for allowing me to be here and to present and to talk with everyone here about my work and my experience at Evergreen Tacoma campus. First of all, Miss Ramona, amazing, amazing. I didn't have a chance to give my little give back when you were got done speaking, but I want to say that, you know, just as Bob Marley says that in this bright future, we can't forget our past. Everything that you explained is very vital that us as the youth understand, because in this midst of so much change that's going on, we're gonna need to listen to our elders and going forward. We have to. If we don't, we won't be able to put the right principles in place in order to move forward and grow. So I really appreciate that. And TaRessa, yeah, haven't been someone who's been involved in writing until recently. I've been challenged with the opportunity to write a children's television show. And so a lot of the things that you talked about, I had to learn on my own really very quickly, but I wrote down a lot of the points that you made, and I'm gonna use them in going forward. I think they're gonna help in my writing. But yes, I'm here today. My name is Kwabe, and I run an organization called the Peace Bus. Basically, we do local humanitarian aid here in Tacoma. We, whatever is needed at a particular point in time, we go out and give. For the last couple of months, there's been a lot of families affected by the coronavirus, and consequently, schools have been closed. And because of that, a lot of families rely on the school system for food and for breakfast and lunch, haven't been able to get, you know, that food. And so I've been going around with this Peace Bus that I created, and I've been driving around giving out cereal. And that breakfast fund ended about 2 weeks ago. But along with that, we're also creating a kids television show to talk with kids about homelessness, poverty, incarceration, a lot of the issues that we have that usually in children's programming, they're not talked about. But I am here today to talk about my relationship with the Evergreen State College and my experience there and how it molded me to be able to do what I'm doing now. I first heard about Evergreen Tacoma through my mom. Now, I had gone to Western Washington University for my first 2 years of college, and I flunked out. I wasn't focused. I would say that I was really geared towards being a musician. I wanted to play reggae music. I love reggae music, and that's what I wanted to do with my life. But my mom came up to Bellingham and was like, "Kwabe, you're coming home. You got to get your head on straight. We got to make sure that you finish school." And I was distraught. I was upset, but mom knows best. So I came home to Tacoma, and I went to TCC, got my grades back up. And my mom, she's good friends with Dr. Maxine Mims. And I think my mom had a conversation. Dr. Mims had gone to one of my mom's church conferences to speak. And my mom was like, yeah, there's this great university here in Tacoma, the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus, and I think you should go there. And I was like, Mom, you know, I don't think I even want to finish school. Like, I don't know if it's for me. She was like, you know what, just apply and just see how it goes. So I applied and I got in. And for the first couple of quarters, to be honest, I really wasn't working to my potential. And you know what? Dr. Bacho, Peter Bacho, who teaches at the Evergreen State College, he set me aside. He was my Lyceum director. And after Lyceum ended, it was one Lyceum, after discussion, he set me aside and he's like, hey, I know you can do better. I know you can do better, and I'm gonna expect that you do better. I need you to figure out who do you wanna be, not what do you wanna be. Obviously, you're a really talented young man. You could be anything, but who do you wanna be as a person? And let that fuel the endeavors that you have as far as creating a career and a life for yourself. And so I did that. I got by myself, took about a weekend, got in my own space, and I really thought about the person I wanna be. And I thought, well, I do want to be someone who has peace within, and to see other people from different walks of life, different races, colors, creeds, religions come together. Essentially what's happening at the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus, that's what we're getting. And I wanted to convey that in my own life. So that's when I started this journey of really searching about peace and the modern peace movement. And I graduated from the Evergreen State College in 2015. And with this essence of understanding of self, right, with peace, I started doing research of the modern peace movement, people who are doing this sort of idea of togetherness now. Of course, we know about Martin Luther King and about Gandhi, these great leaders, and even Peace Pilgrim. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Peace Pilgrim, but she's this awesome lady. If you have a chance, look her up. All you got to do is type in Google Peace Pilgrim, amazing lady. And I came across a couple of gentlemen, one named Brian Haw, another gentleman named A.B. Nathan. And these these individuals molded the way in which I would go about creating a company. Now, what the Evergreen State College did, which for students who are going into it, I need them to understand, is that you're gonna get an education like you've never experienced before. If you've gone to school before, which you had to have to be able to get to this school, you're in for something new, bright, and vibrant. You're going to be challenged to look outside of the norm. You're going to be challenged to look outside of what people are just telling you and throwing information out. What Evergreen State College Tacoma campus does, it challenges you to think outside the box. It challenges you to do critical thinking. And without that sort of premise and going forward, I would not have thought that I could create a company with the underlining ideas of peace, right? Oftentimes when we think about business, it's very money hungry, very, very centered around, you know, the success and monetary value. And to think that I could create a company that was embedded in peace, love, and understanding was something that I wouldn't have thought of if I didn't go to the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus. And so right now what I'm doing, I am in the midst of creating a kids television show, which we already had our premiere on Sunday, but we're having another showing on Wednesday at 7:30 on Facebook. Now, if you want to watch it, all you got to do is type in the Peace Bus on Facebook. It will come up. You like it, and you can watch our show on Wednesday, 7:30 p.m.
That is so awesome, the work you're doing, Kwabe. We are so proud of you. You could be talking about anything you want, but you are having conversations about peace. And we look forward to you coming back to our campus and having those conversations. Leah, yes. Shall we do some question and answers? And then we are going to introduce you to some of the people who make Evergreen happen here.
Sure. All right, so if you have any questions at all for any of our guests today, just raise your hand and I'll call on you. You can raise your actual hand, or you can use the raise hand icon that's down underneath participants. And yeah, just let me know if you've got a question. Anybody? Let's see, scanning. Somebody has to have a question.
I have a question I'd like to ask TaRessa.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. Hey, TaRessa. That was marvelous. Thank you so much. That was so good. I'm gonna try. I never thought about music and writing that way. And so I want to know philosophically, where did that come from? Where, as a writer, I think you've written over 5 books so far. Is it 5?
9.
Oh, excuse me. Right, written over 9 books so far. You know, ranging in multiple topics and et cetera. But when you talked about using music, there was kind of some organics. It wasn't like, oh, put the noun here and the pronoun here, and then do a 5-point paragraph. So could you share? I mean, so it seems like you're taking a more sensory approach, or a more conceptual, or something.
Yes.
What are you doing? What's going on in your head when you're writing and you're giving us this thing?
What's going on is, I think what I've learned, and this might be one reason I was attracted to and thrived at Evergreen, is you all helped, you know, one of the things Evergreen does is it teaches you how to learn anything. You can learn anything. I'm an immersion learner, so sensory immersion. So whatever I need to learn, I do well with immersion. If I wanted to learn a language, I would probably need to go to that country or at least that community. But I'm an immersion learner, that's how it works. And I'm very auditory, and I'm the daughter of a musician, which may or may not have anything to do with it. So for me, music has always played that role. And then when my son and daughter were growing up, I basically didn't have any music for about 10 years. I listened to what they listened to. And we are talking about hardcore hip hop and radical independent punk. Please know it was very strange, sometimes difficult for me during those years. But I connected with them with their music. I let them share their music with me. We discussed it, took them to concerts, all of that. So I think that's when I really realized, and I felt like I could, you know, even in the difficult teen years, I felt like I could understand them better by hearing their music with them. And so for me, music is just, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a writer. I have no musical talent whatsoever. But I've always believed that music is the single most important art form if we could only have one. And think about it, it brings together so many things. Music is written, whether it's instrumental or includes lyrics, somebody wrote it. And so it is fundamental to writing in that way. So somebody wrote the music, somebody wrote the lyrics, maybe both, they put them together, which is another challenge. So for me, it's just for sensory immersion. And again, the power it has, that's why I want you all to play with it. We're doing what I call your lifelong or your coming of age soundtrack. The power music has to transport us. Just like I'm sure some of you, you heard the first 2 notes of the Lauryn Hill song, right? You were like, oh, I was back driving a mommy van around North Jersey running errands with my kids when I hear the song, right? Like instantly, I'm in North Jersey, you know, all that kind of stuff. So the power of music, and that goes back to all of our ancestral traditions, which use music for what? Everything. For celebration, for grieving, for communicating, for communing, right? Music is always, the drum, whatever instrument you have is always so primal. So I think that's for me where it comes from. But for me, it was just, and of course, growing up and, you know, as a boomer, we're kind of snobbish. We had the best music, but, but every generation has great music. But those songs that override your conscious brain, Joy, that override the voices of the external and internal critics, that take you back to when you were your first kiss, that first slow dance, that first whatever, you know, or that time when you, right? I mean, when Dr. Tatarunga played Sweet Honey, you and me and she and we, I'm back in Seattle with y'all. Come on, what? I was back there. I wasn't in Marietta, Georgia, you know, but that was part of our collective soundtrack together and the experiences we wove together a few years ago, you know, so does that help? Does that make sense? But it's just, try it, play with it.
Oh yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. And I'm just sitting here smiling because that music it took me back to people out in the world don't know it, but TaRessa, and on my screen it's beautiful because I'm here, Marsha's here, and TaRessa's here, and there's this triangle, and in the middle of our triangle is Lisa and Ricardo on my screen. And so
are they here?
Right, yeah, they're right above
Lisa
you.
Ricardo? Oh my God.
Right, Lisa.
God, I'm done. Oh my God.
Right. So
I'm
you're
crying.
watching history. You're watching incredible history and legacy. Not only do we have Dr. Mims, who was my mentor, and then Dr. Mims was my mentor, and then I mentored Marcia, and I mentored TaRessa and Ricardo, and Lisa, the woman in the middle, did the first yearbook for the Evergreen State College Tacoma campus. She put it together, she produced it, and those are both alumni. So it's like this coming together, this vortex is on my screen. And I don't mean to be effervescent, but I am just looking at history. I'm looking at connection. TaRessa and I wrote the first rap.
That's how powerful that is.
It was called Good Black Music for the day that good Black and or Seattle. My phone kept ringing. So Good Black Music, or the day that good Black music left the world and or Seattle, and the entire thing was in rap. TaRessa wrote it, and it was all poetic, and it was about the soul snatcher coming and stealing the culture and the arts of the people. So it was prophetical. So you all are watching a moment of magic and connection. I'm going to take a picture of it for my screen, so don't anybody move. So
and while you are taking,
that's all I wanted to say.
You are awesome, Dr. Hardiman, to put this all together. Who's on this Zoom today? And I tell you, it is a historic moment. Our time is running out, and I must make sure that I acknowledge some of the people who have been responsible for putting it together. Leah, did you want to say something? Because I know, okay, good. So I want to, oh, you were waving at the camera. Oh, you little cheater. Okay, well.
Yay!
I want to say thank you to our staff. You may not know fully, but Marla German, who has been with us for decades, we can't do any of this without her. She is our secretary. We thank you, Marla, for all the work you have done to make this possible. Natasha Lemke, our recruitment coordinator and student affairs person. She's always there. She's always available. And I think you'll be lingering a little bit after this, Natasha, for people who want to ask questions about coming to Evergreen. I want to thank Trey Applegate. Trey, who is our technician. You have done an amazing job as always. You are the reason why we can do this Zoom so well. Trey Applegate, our technician. I also want to thank Angela Carlisle, who is our writing coach, along with Leah Wilkins, who I'm seeing in the middle. I keep teasing Leah because she's also not just working with us to manage this program. She's generally the writing director of the Writing Center in Evergreen, Tacoma. So her and Angela will always be on hand after a Zoom like today to answer any of your writing questions that you may have. If you're working on, for example, an application or a scholarship or any project of your own that you'd like to run by them, they will be available to talk to you after the Zoom. So thank you to both Leah Wilkins and Angela Carlisle. And who am I leaving out, please? Oh, I know that Dr. Anthony Zaragoza is on this line with us. Anthony Zaragoza, one of our prize faculty, thank you for being here throughout the program. Aren't you excited? I'm excited. We are building this up for our faculty, like Dr. Zaragoza and our awesome faculty, Dr. Gilda Shepard, Peter Bacho, and so forth. And while I'm mentioning them, I'd like to say hello to us. Oh, that's Dr. Mims on the screen.
Oh, yes, it is.
Well, hello, Dr. Mims. Welcome. What an honored visit you are paying to us.
Oh my goodness, what am I doing?
You just stumbled into it.
My son doing something for Dr. J, and I said, I'll ride with you. And I rode over here. So I've been sitting on the porch for a long time, enjoying myself. Now, where am I? Hello, everybody.
Well,
Hello,
you had
Mother.
to come on.
There's TaRessa.
See those glasses.
Right. Arno and right. There's Tina. All right. There's TaRessa. There's Marsha. There are all these people all waving at you.
All your
Hello,
friends,
hello.
all your
Who are
village.
they?
Yeah, we gonna need those shades though.
You started us, and we are here.
Yes.
Oh
The
my
last
God,
person
look
I
at
want
this.
to make sure I acknowledge is Lionel Scott. He is our SNA coordinator, our student government, duly elected coordinator, and he is also preparing to speak to you. We've run out of time, so he will make a presentation next week, introducing you to more of our SNA affairs and our faculty. But we want to honor your time. I just want to say thanks again to my special guests, Dr. TaRessa Stovall, Tina Kukan Miller, and also, who was that other person that was our special guest? How come I keep doing this, Natasha? Who was that other person we had join us? Oh, Dr. Hardiman. And of course, Dr. Mims, who made a cameo appearance. TaRessa, as always, we look forward to next week. Everyone get your pens and pads ready and spend time after this Zoom talking to writing coaches. We hope you'll tune in again next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Okay, well done.
Thank you, Dr. Arunga, for helping to organize this lovely event. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
fabulous day. See you next Tuesday.